Hey, Zach, you want to play some Lorcana with us?
This is going on YouTube?
Zach's angry.
After what they did to Star Wars, there's no way I'd touch anything Disney makes.
Oh. Well, we are going to go play some Lorcana. I think they are playing some Commander.
But the problem about
Give us cards. Yep. I'm not. Magic cards.
Who's that?
So,
Now they're shy that I got the camera out.
No, I'm not.
Oh, we're not. We're playing some Lorcana.
We're playing
Look at
some
these
Lorcana.
nerds. Look at these grown men. How much they spent on Disney characters.
On Disney characters.
I like DuckTales, okay? I like DuckTales, and I'm proud to admit it.
Mike is proud to me likes
I'm a
DuckTales.
suit for cartoon women.
Did DuckTales even exist during your time period?
Yeah, they did.
It was huge when I was little.
Yeah.
So like the
Well, they
original
have-
DuckTales is pretty good, but then in 2017 they did the reboot. So good.
Yeah, so I used to, one of the very first computer games I ever played was on my grandma's computer was DuckTales. We had to put it on the old floppy disk to play floppy disk.
I've never
Like
played-
actual floppy disk, not the hard ones, like the floppy disks.
Really?
You probably have never even touched one of those.
I've only touched on. I wondered why they were called floppy disks if they were hard.
Yeah.
Legendary in the first pack.
First back.
Grandma Tala.
It does.
Zach opened up one too in the first pack.
It
Maybe it's
does,
the first.
uh,
It shows you how to do the.
yeah, the location.
The locations?
But I forgot.
Yep. Well, this
But
is
it
what
should
we'll
be
be
pretty good.
doing on a Saturday night. So you get old and boring like me, and you play some Disney princesses on a Saturday night.
You bet.
So we're gonna open these up and then see what we.
We each have to do 2 different colors.
But we just realized. So I had some customers come in, and I had 5 boxes left. I'm like, oh, we'll probably get a enchanted out of, because we cracked new one. But I wasn't paying attention. I cracked the new boxes, and I think they got mixed up. So we might get.
That guy walked
Yeah,
out
that
with
the guy,
two enchanted.
the guy probably walked out with 2 enchantments. We're not gonna
He's
get any.
open to all the enchanted.
He did, yeah. I think he did last time. I think Tom did last time. But
Crazy guy. They
anyway,
didn't even stay and play. What the heck?
I know
That's so lame.
it is lame. We're gonna play all by ourselves because we don't want to play Commander. No Commander. Let's stay out of that room, and we'll play Lorcana.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. So obviously
What the hell is that?
it's a Simba.
Yeah, but for 3 lures, that's crazy.
So obviously we box map here at Gonro Games because none of us got it enchanted. So I'm sure that customer that
That
came
guy
in,
got 2.
he probably got 2 that came in since I opened up 2 different cases of boxes because it's I'm a bad friend. Sorry, Garito. But yep, this is our Lorcana experience. I think we opened up some good cards. Who knows with this? I don't know how this set is going to age with a lot of supply coming right out the gates, but it probably won't trigger a reprint. So anyway, we actually did what's called a color draft. So we opened up an entire box of Lorcana, and then I won the die roll, so I got to choose my color first, or my gem, whatever you want to call it. And so I chose, since I had 2 mythics here with the Jafar and Maleficent, to choose Amethyst, and then what'd you choose, Ruby?
Ruby Steel.
Well, you chose Steel first, then it went to Mikey, and he chose 2 colors. I think he chose
Emerald and Sapphire.
Emerald Sapphire. So that left me with the dogs, which I'm okay with. I guess we'll be playing the dogs with Amber. So kind of a cool way to do it. Yeah, hopefully we can figure out our decks now. It doesn't take all day long. And they're ordering Domino's because I didn't cook pizza. I'm a bad person because I don't have dough ready. But yeah. All right, so I didn't get to talking about the Inklands release and what I felt about Inklands. And there's a new Star Wars Unlimited game that came out as well. And there is a lot of parallels between the 2 games, and I think this actually leads into a good discussion with the whole reason why I think that Magic Wizards of the Coast is doubling down on Universes Beyond. I think that Universes Beyond is actually an overreaction towards these games. And maybe not overreaction, I think it's a necessary reaction to these games. Because I know that Wizards of the Coast knows that they're game design is not safe from games just coming in and knocking them off with better IPs. And it's kind of sad that I'm saying that, because Magic the Gathering, when they started doing University Bound, well, actually when they didn't even do that, I think it all started when they made what we like to call the Justice League. In fact, Wizards of the Coast freaked out when creators would call it the Justice League. It was during Oath of Gatewatch, that whole time period, when everyone was seeing the parallels between Avengers, because there was this big Avengers craze at the time, and that Wizards of the Coast was trying to turn Magic the Gathering into more of an Avengers feel, like these big superheroes battling against the these galactic forces. And yes, it's always had that sort of twist to it, and they were able to utilize some of the old dark fantasy aspects from old school Magic the Gathering. However, it seemed to be the focus shifted so much on the character building, the Justice League, and their little interpersonal relationships and whatnot, and it kind of took away from the world building that Magic the Gathering was known for with each one of its planes. And that was the start of where I think that the storyline and just the theme, just the overall brand of Magic the Gathering started to go downhill. And I think it's actually hurt their ability to have this really core group of people that are interested in that. Like it got to the point to where they started not even publishing the authors' names that worked on a particular set, because in their own reasoning was that they were getting bullied or something. It was just crazy. It was crazy nonsense at that time of the kind of mental gymnastics that they're going through to try to justify and rationalize what they did to the Magic the Gathering kind of IP. And now with Fallout just being this knockout of the park success, and Lord of the Rings just being their best set, how sad is that a crossover IP set is Magic the Gathering's best-selling set of all times? It just shows you how kind of fragile, or just that no one really cared about Magic the Gathering and cared more about the actual mechanics games. And I'd actually put myself in that camp as well. Even though I do have a soft spot for Magic the Gathering and some of the lore and some of the nostalgia that I had clear back in the day playing in Revised all the way up through like Mirage, Weatherlight, that time period, all the good old Ravnica days. Like, yeah, the storyline was better, but I've never felt like Magic the Gathering has had this really cohesive storyline that has been as good as something like some of these IPs that now are getting their hands in the TCG. And let me give you some examples of why I think that Wizards of the Coast is terrified. So I'm going to pull up some images here. Look at this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm seeing more and more of this happen on Lorcana, because Lorcana just has such similar mechanics. And now even in Star Wars Unlimited, maybe I'll rifle through some of these cards and show you exactly how Star Wars Unlimited plays out, that Magic should be scared. Because when they can take their design, basically, I still think Lorcana is just such a ripoff of Magic. Yes, it plays different. Yes, it doesn't have the stack. Yes, it doesn't have a lot of key elements of Magic, and does have enough things to differentiate itself. I think it's like a dumbed-down version of Magic. I think that getting rid of the stack and stuff actually kind of kills the complexity. And for me, I'd much rather play Magic. However, it's these games are not trying to reinvent the wheel. What used to make a lot of the Star Wars games, or the all these other knockoff fantasy games that would come out, even the Force of Wills, is they were too different from Magic. They tried to reinvent the wheel. They thought they had to be like completely different games. They had to still be card games, but completely different from the mechanics of Magic the Gathering. Well, you have Lorcana. I've joked about it. Lorcana has 20 life. You have a 7-card hand. You draw a card per turn. You basically have a mana where you start with 1 per turn and escalate up as the game progresses. And it's just, even though there are, like I said, some small little nuances, they've taken the core tenets of Magic the Gathering and just slightly shifted it, and then brought in the ever popular Disney IP to it. And it is, in my opinion, it is really hitting the bottom line now of Magic the Gathering. Lorcana has been insanely popular, but if you can look at the design, like, again, they're so blatant about it. They aren't even trying to reinvent the wheel whatsoever. When you have Mickey Mouse Trumpeter and Elvish Piper, it's quite hilarious that both of them, a Piper versus a Trumpeter. But look at these two cards. On the one hand, with Mickey Mouse, with Elvish Piper, this is an old classic card. For 4 mana, you get basically a 1/1, which is what Mickey Mouse is. It's something that just has 0. It's a 0/1 action. This has no combat power whatsoever, and can only take 1 before it is destroyed. and well, its power is kind of attack power is also one with the quest there. If you understand Lorcan, you'll understand that. But their abilities are almost exactly the same. So you have 2 in tap for the Mickey Mouse Trumpeter to put a character card for free, which is a creature card. And you have the Elvish Piper, 1 in tap. Both of the games have Summoning Sickness. And so these cards just play out the exact same in the game when you're actually playing the game of how they ramp into, bigger cards, where there's some big payoff pieces of where you can cheat in, some cards that shouldn't be coming in that turn. And the same is, I've noticed that also now with Star Wars Unlimited, and I think that Wizards of the Coast should be worried. So first of all, before we step into Star Wars Unlimited, let me just talk about my experience of Lorcana. And I actually really did enjoy the game. So another reason why they should be worried is I think that Lorcana is now starting to flirt with design space that is going to make Wizards of the Coast kind of jealous. I'm surprised that I know that these are like reverse battles, these locations that came out. So Inklands, basically its new mechanic was the locations. So you're going to have locations and you can put characters under locations. And then while they're under that location, then they get like a buff. Or certain locations just by themselves have some sort of static sort of value or ability that they can do per turn, or a lot of them trigger on the beginning of your turn. And so you have to basically choose whether to let them stay on the field or try to get rid of them. Because of course, they do buff your creatures. I'm actually so surprised that Lorcana or Magic the Gathering hasn't tried this, because you think that over the 30 years that Magic existed, you'd think they'd try to have like creatures and locations and whatnot. I know that we used to even play around with this mechanic in sandboxing Magic the Gathering with kind of what ifs, what could happen in our own little little side games we'd play. And we'd have some similar to that. But Lorcana, I'm very surprised it took their 3rd set to even really, to improve on Magic the Gathering. I'd actually be very, I wouldn't be surprised if Magic the Gathering got them back and like, we're going to try a locations type thing and have it be very similar how Lorcana plays out. But I mean, it's not just limited to the card that I showed you. There's a card that's the exact same thing as Preordain or Ponder, one of the two. I've noticed like there's so like Lightning Bolt was basically printed. I mean, it's a little more costly at that point, but the way this game is designed is so super similar. Anyway, back to what I'm talking about with Lorcana is I actually really did enjoy this. Like, I think Lorcana does have, and there might be a lot of people that do like the complexity kind of dumbed down level of Lorcana compared to Magic, because Magic is insanely intimidating. And in fact, what's going on right now in Standard Magic is you have an absolute hyper control deck, like a deck that is so oppressive in Standard with blue-white control, where basically you don't get to do anything, as your opponent just plays on your turn, and you don't ever get to resolve anything because they counterspell and Wandering Emperor and exile things, and then board wipe, and it kind of feels like you never even get to play anything. So with Lorcana being less intimidating, it could actually bring a lot of people into playing Lorcana over Magic, just with the way that the game hasn't progressed the way that Magic has, to where you're power creeped beyond power creep, to where every card is just a must answer threat. And that's kind of where I feel about Standard right now, why Standard is so boring. And a lot of their formats like Pioneer and Modern is everything is so power leveled up compared to what I remember from Magic the Gathering, that you can't let anything sit on. Like, something has to have so much impact in the game of Magic. Your 1-drops and your 2-drops even in Magic have to have so much impact that you can't leave them alone, that you have to immediately interact with them. And again, some people might like that. I mean, it feels like Legacy. That's exactly how Legacy was balanced. It's kind of a 1-for-1 format. But nowadays, like, the difference between going from like a sealed environment to like a Standard environment is insane. The power level, and the same can be said about Commander and whatnot. So I was actually very, very impressed with the way that Lorcana, I think that the locations actually added a whole new depth to the game and a lot more decisions to be made. And they're starting to really, really flirt with all of these synergies with like the card types and the ability to heal damage, the ability to actually get rid of lore is starting to become stronger in this game. And so we're starting to see a lot more angles for this game to be played that becomes more and more interesting. So I'm kind of eating crow here, because I was very critical of this game, first of all, being just such a blatant ripoff, and I just basically said it was a budget Magic, like as far as budget mechanics are concerned, like a step down to Magic without the complexity. But I have to kind of, like I said, eat crow because this game is actually starting to evolve pretty well. So when this card came out, Star Wars Unlimited, I was like, it's just another fantasy flight games. It has no depth. No, it's gonna be terrible. Like if you play so many like with me, every time a new card game comes out, I'll play. I'm like, this is just bad. The way the interaction works is bad. And the problem is, again, they're trying to reinvent the wheel. The vast majority of card games come out, they don't want to be like Magic. So here comes Star Wars Unlimited. It comes out, and this is kind of just a little board here that they have. Let me zoom out here, and we'll get rid of my ugly face so you can actually kind of see what I'm talking about. Is you have these little playmats of how the kind of game works out, and I was actually tickled pink when I was able to just pick up Star Wars Unlimited and be like, this is just Magic. It's just Magic. Again, there's not the stack. There's not the playing on your opponent's turn. However, what's kind of cool with Star Wars Unlimited, which is different from Lorcana, is instead of taking full turns, each of you just take one turn. So there's this thing called the initiative. And so whoever has initiative gets the first action. And if you do an action, then your opponent gets to do an action. And even though, again, there's no stack and there's no response like that, it does feel a little bit more interactive than things like Pokemon or Lorcana, because your opponent can only do one thing before you do one thing. And then you keep going back and forth until no one has anything to do. And then you go to your next upkeep phase of where you draw cards and refresh resources and whatnot. And the thing that impressed me most is, again, this game didn't even try to reinvent the wheel. It was just Magic. So instead of 20 life, so I'll just show a quick game, and I'm probably butchering how this game is played because I only played a couple games here, and now I can't even find my leaders or anything, so possibly not because my leaders are missing. So you choose a leader up here in the, so you have a leader and a base, and you have these starter decks come. Oh, there we go. There's Darth Vader. It got shuffled up, and there's the base. Okay, I found him. So you have your leader, and your leader starts out on this end, which basically it has the ability by itself. So it's got an action. So in this game, you do an action, and your opponent does an action until you're all out of resources, and you go to the next one. So you start with your leader, and you also start with a base, which is basically 30 life. And I'm like, this is just Commander. You start with a commander that can be played. I mean, it has an ability by itself, but eventually it's going to be played as a creature. So you want to kind of build your deck. In fact, between your base and your commander, if you choose a commander and a base, then I believe that's the only colors you can actually run in your deck. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I got from playing this deck out with the starters and playing in the kind of the pre-release stuff. So again, so far these bases don't really have anything except for life. I'm sure in the future maybe they'll have like an extra hand size, or I'm not sure exactly how they'll balance it. I'm sure kind of like Flesh and Blood, how most of them were very similar with their life totals and hand sizes and whatnot, but as the games progress, they're like, okay, maybe we can add an ability to this and maybe, decrease the life to it. But again, very similar to Magic. It has 30 life as Magic the Gathering has 20, but Commander has 40. And so, there's some parallels there. And then you do, choose your favorite leader to already have in play, which is what Commander players love that, about being guaranteed that they know they're going to have a card they're going to play with. And then the game also plays out so similar to Magic. I think you start with 6 cards, and then you can put 2 of them as resources, basically as lands. So it's got the Lorcana mechanic where if you don't want that card or this card, they're resources. And it's got the same exhausting, tapping, whatever you want to call it. I think in this one, what do they even call this one? I think it's exhausting. And what this is turning, it's readying and exhausting is exhaust ready. So tap and untap in the Star Wars game. And these go in your resource pile and they act like lands. And then again, you're able to play resources from your hand, I believe once per turn at that point, and the game will start to progress and have that same tempo feel as Magic the Gathering. And it's super similar to Magic, like you have your ground units that can only attack ground units, and you have your space units that can only attack space units, and they can directly attack the command center if you want, or if you have, the attacking and blocking is very similar to Lorcana with defenders and I think they're called defenders in this. They're I can't remember what the terminology is in. But the game feels and plays so similar to Magic. So kind of where I'm going with this game is it's like, taking these super strong IPs. We saw what Lord of the Rings did. Can you imagine if they did like a Star Wars or a Marvel crossover with Magic the Gathering? If Fallout was so popular, that's what people said. They should be trying to get Pal World immediately for Magic the Gathering kind of crossover. So really hit on those IPs. But it just shows, I think, that is like why, more than anything, that they are going towards these universes beyond. So in one end of the spectrum, it's kind of sad because it's, Wizards of the Coast is just kind of thrown in the towel. They know that their IP is not going to be as strong as these other ones. But at the same time, like all of us, let's admit it, we all used to theory craft about, I wonder if my favorite character from X, Y, or Z was a Magic card. What would it be like? And they're now we are seeing exactly how the designers are going with it. So anyway, I thought there was kind of an interesting little discussion with it, and that's my whole theory about Universes Beyond. It kills two birds with one stone. The more IPs that Wizard of the Coast can gobble up, now a Warhammer or a Fallout trading card game is going to be much, much harder to get to market if it's going to be a similar game as Magic, because Magic already is like, well, we already did it. So, players are like, well, let's get Magic cards. However, like Lorcana and Star Wars, this is their options, is now they have a Magic game, a game that plays very similar to Magic with an IP they love. Killing two birds with one stone is you can get all those fans in and you can kind of protect your IP. So I thought it was a kind of fun little discussion for this. I've been enjoying playing these I'm really itching to get back into a game obsessively like I used to be with Magic the Gathering. I know a lot of you came from like the Rogue Deck Builder days where I used to be a popular Magic the Gathering kind of off the beaten path deck builder. And that's what kind of led me to making connections with different vendors and whatnot. And I decided to start my own store. And then you might know me now from the Gone Rogues kind of behind the scenes of actually running a game store. But it all started with Magic the Gathering. It started because I just was absolutely in love with the game. And I love playing the game. I love, going to the conventions, the tournaments. I actually made a pro tour for Magic the Gathering back in Dragon's Maze is the one that I qualified for. And all those were so fun. It was a lot of fun just being obsessive about one game. But nowadays it's like I'm enjoying just playing games that are good, and that why I've kind of relegated most of my time in my mental space to Magic is all the games have been bad up to this point. Like they've been trying to reinvent the wheel so much, the games just don't work, or they can't keep my attention span. And now I've actually been very impressed with both Lorcana and now Star Wars Unlimited and even Flesh and Blood, that these card games are good, and they're going to give Magic a run for their money. So if I was Wizards of the Coast, I definitely would be a little bit scared about these. I definitely would try to stop being so complacent on some of the things that Wizards of the Coast has been so complacent about, like their organization with their competitive scenes at the local level, at the national levels, at the pro levels. Really, really getting their new sets. They in 2022 and 2023 especially, it just feels like they didn't even try with spoiler seasons, with really trying to get the hype out there. It's just like, here's another product, here's another shiny thing you have to buy, and it just they've just become so complacent that hopefully these games, these Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited, is going to force them to get their act together. So again, I'd love to be obsessed with another game, but as long as there's other fun alternatives out there, I'll play them and I'll continue to support them. What are your thoughts on if you started to play Star Wars Unlimited? It's crazy that the vast majority of people of on my Discord and my Patreon, they came from Magic the Gathering, but I've seen them over the years kind of diverge in different games. We actually have a lot of people that play One Piece now, kind of One Piece exclusively. We saw people that have moved over to Pokemon that were Magic the Gathering players for a long time, and now we have a lot of them that are going into Star Wars Unlimited and into Lorcana. And I guess the Universes system is getting a revamp and has been picked up by another company. And I even know things like Keyforge are getting a revamp. So exciting times in the TCG world. But I do think it's still oversaturated with so many lines out there. And so we'll have to wait and see how kind of the dust settles of which ones actually come up on top. There's still a lot of like things I don't like about Star Wars Unlimited. First of all, it's Fantasy Flights, which is a track record of just not really supporting and caring about games once they actually get them going. So hopefully they can actually stick with it with this one. And the same thing can be said at Lorcana. It's actually doing really well. It's past its third set kind of litmus test, where is it going to be something that sticks around long term? And in my opinion, I think that it is here to stay. And again, if I were a betting man, and I am, I'm actually thinking Star Wars Unlimited has legs. And I'm thinking that from what I've seen, locally of people playing, what I've seen, people have talked to me online, they've been enjoying this IP and enjoying how it plays out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with Gone Rogue Games. Thanks for watching.